In the 9th chapter of the Book of Wisdom, we hear this observation. The corruptible body burdens the soul, and the earthen shelter weighs down the mind that has many concerns. The corruptible body burdens the soul, and the earthen shelter weighs down the mind, the soul that has many concerns. This verse, in the minds of many, is an indication that humanity is broken, that humanity is corrupt, that humanity, our bodiliness, gets us into trouble and leads to disorders in the moral sphere, and therefore can frustrate our salvific finality, our arrival at God in heaven, in the beatific vision. And thus, it's not a surprise that many conceptions of the Christian life in general, but of Catholic spirituality in particular, almost fall into a dualistic tension between our physicality, our corporeity, our bodiliness, and the spiritual parts of ourselves, our soul, our intellect, and our will, such that we regard the body as inexorably leading us away from God and the things of God, and therefore ultimately something that we should suppress, repress, ignore, so that we can be holy. And because of this, it's slightly a caricature, but not far from it. The truth of what people think about the Catholic life, the Christian faith, is that Christian salvation is accomplished by he or she who holds his or her breath the longest. So if you ignore all good food, all bodily pleasures, all enjoyment, all happiness, heaven and God are within your reach. This is a very common conception that we have, again, of the Christian life and of holiness. However, this is inaccurate. The Christian life is not essentially the repression or the destruction of a sinful physicality, a disordered bodiliness. The Christian faith is not predicated upon dualistic philosophy that would divide us into body and soul in tension, but rather the Christian faith is ultimately a perfective, a supernaturally perfective formality through which we are truly united to God, body and soul. And this is why in the Creed, when we profess every Sunday that we believe in the resurrection of the dead, the restoration of the body to us after death at the end, this is an integral and an essential component to the Christian religion because, and here's the point, the body is not evil. Even after original sin, because of original sin, dealing with the effects of original sin, the body is not evil. The body is something God made. The bodily components, principle of our nature is something that pertains to our nature. No human person is a human person without their body. Thus, the Christian life is not a life of killing the body so that we can be alive spiritually, but it's about ordering the whole of our being, body and soul, that hylomorphic matter form, physical spiritual unity to God. And therefore, this is why we must take deliberate and precise and calculated, prudent, reasonable steps to ensure that the mind is directed towards God. Listen to the words from Wisdom 9 again. It says, the corruptible body burdens the soul, and the earthen shelter weighs down the mind that has many concerns. The many concerns of the mind come about whenever we are distracted, whenever we lead lives that are characterized by dissipation, by fragmentation, by desultory, random, here, this, that, and then this. Every person, in order to thrive, in order to lead a virtuous, namely a well-ordered, integrated life, must have a certain unity to their operations. Just as the body and soul form a unity, so the activities, the operations of that body and soul unity must themselves also be unified if we are going to unite all of the various dimensions of human existence into a single movement towards God. And this is the great power of the soul, of the mind. The mind can recognize the goodness of the body, the goodness of food, the goodness of drink, the goodness of physical intimacy within marriage. None of these things are objectively, inherently evil. They are all good, because in our entire being we are ordered to the good irrevocably. God imprinted a goodness order to our humanity, both spiritually and physically. And yet it belongs to the mind to recognize the proper order of goods. Therefore, the saint, the virtuous person, the happy man and woman must from time to time certainly engage in acts of penance, sacrifice, etc. But these are not to break down the body or to destroy our humanity or to repress our inherent drives or desires, but rather to order them. Food, drink, and physical intimacy are good, but they're only good for us when we receive and use them in a way that's ordered to our goodness, to the goodness of society, and ultimately to the goodness of the human journey to God. This is the great dignity of the human person, to be a body-soul composite, a unity, and yet to be able, because of the highest powers of our human nature, our intellect, and then the intellect's appetite, the will, to know and to love and to follow a well-ordered, healthy, perfective, thriving movement. This point might sound pedantic, it might sound excessively philosophical, it might sound obvious, but if we reflect upon our day-to-day decisions, often we can recognize that we don't appreciate this sufficiently in our lives. We don't appreciate fully our fundamental unity, that the body and the soul are not cursed forever, and that even weighed down by concupiscence, which is an effect of the state of original sin that remains even after baptism, which of course removes removes original sin itself. Even after that, that fundamental God-directedness remains within us, and the human mind is able, receiving from God his holy teaching about who he is and how to find him, the human mind can lead the united person to God in a way that is coherent, that is integral, and that is salvific. God came to save the entirety of our human nature, and we, in the reality of our concrete humanity, can follow God. And so practically, does this mean at times we don't eat or drink all the things that we want? Yes, but it's not because food or drink are inherently evil, but it's for the reason of another good, of a well-ordered existence, that we might refrain. Are there times whereby we do penances, like during Lent? Yes, but the purpose of Lent is not to beat down our humanity, but to liberate us from the distractions so that we can focus more fully upon God, the good. Is it true that some people give up the good of marriage, which is a wonderful thing, and indeed between two baptized persons is a sacrament, And certainly, in that case then, deprive themselves of the physical intimacy that is wonderful within marriage. Is it possible that Jesus invites us, that the church invites us to follow him as priests and religious? Yes, but it's not because physical intimacy, sex, etc. are evil, but it's so that and because of, so that we can attain God, and because he is the ultimate and highest good. And therefore we wish to consecrate ourselves completely to him. In a word then, the essence of the Christian life is goodness orientation. It's an orientation to God, our natural and our supernatural end. The body and the soul, it's true, can get distracted from God, can get off the Godward path, but this doesn't mean that the body nor the soul are inherently corrupt, totally depraved, radically corrupted, but that Jesus is able to, and he invites us to receive, he's able to give us his wisdom, and we are able to receive his wisdom to learn to live a life that's integrated, body, soul, mind, heart, all aspects of our being, ordered to him the good. The Christian does not start with evil and avoid it and then back into the good. The Christian runs towards the good always and thereby flees evil, because Jesus came to give us our salvation. He came to give us himself. He came to give us the beatific vision in which we are united in he who is goodness itself.